And the BBE is live.
Nottingham ale, boys, Nottingham ale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, boys, Nottingham ale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, boys, Nottingham ale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, boys, Nottingham ale, no liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale.
And like I said, the BBE is live. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday, which is the usual day for BBE Lives. My name is Thomas Allen. I am a countertenor and singer based here in Chicago, and I can't wait for you to meet to meet all of my wonderful colleagues, all of whom I can call great friends.
I'm Leanne Del Ragusa. I'm a flute player, and I'm one of the directors of the BBE, and I'm living in Bloomington, Indiana.
And I am Brandy Berry Benson, yet another one of the directors of the BBE, violinist, streaming to you here from Chicago, Illinois. And I am super thrilled to wrap up the month of special guest violinists with none other than one of our favorites and who has played with BBE before, Sarah Cranor. She is a Baroque violinist, currently finishing up her doctorate at IU, about to play with Indie Baroque tonight, concertmaster of Midland Odessa Symphony, and is a pretty active player. We're super excited to have her on here. Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And we know that Sarah is just finished her oral comms and will know all the answers to all of our questions. So we're very excited to let her lead us in that. And so we'll kick it off with Leanne. Leanne, tell us about your game.
All right, so the first game is called The Sordid Lives of Composers. So how it works is I will read a paragraph about a composer. I may or may not leave out pertinent information that will help you get the answer. There will be 4 multiple choice composer names on the screen, but before you give us your answer, there will be a little thinking music, just like Jeopardy. So without further ado, let's get started.
Great photo.
So because this is a violin theme, so I was trying to find some new violin pictures that we haven't used yet.
Yeah, good job.
So the first question, like his father, this composer was a trained violinist. After his dad died, he left Salzburg for Italy, where he would have heard Corelli's music in Rome and later Vivaldi's in Venice, soaking up the newest trends in Italian technique and style. On his return to Salzburg in 1714, he served as the deputy Kapellmeister in the Salzburg Cathedral before being promoted to head Kapellmeister in 1743. He belongs to the generation of composers who represented the stylistic transition between composers committed to the older late Baroque style ideal and Rococo composers. His output consists mainly of masses and other liturgical works that also includes instrumental church sonatas. The latter are mostly string sonatas with organ accompaniment, seldom brass, and woodwind instruments. Was this composer, Tartini, Carl Bieber, Locatelli, or Veracini? But first, some thinking music. Do you have any guesses, Sarah?
I'm going to guess Tartini because his late stuff pushed the boundaries of bowing, but I feel like I'm getting his dates wrong, so I'm not totally sure.
Interesting. Any Brandy? Thomas? Interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Don't worry, you'll get your revenge in a second. I was actually thinking, because you mentioned his father was a violinist.
Yes.
He came from Salzburg to Italy.
Correct.
So I'm thinking B for BBE. But
or also Bieber, right?
Or also Bieber.
Yes.
So that is my guess. I actually don't know Carl's works as much, hardly at all.
Right.
So that is
nice. Thomas, do you want to take a stab or no?
I feel torn because I feel like I'll betray one or either Sarah or Brandy, but I'm gonna go for B, B with Bieber, just because Brandy did, and she's my boss.
Well,
Oh, right, whatever. Well, you're actually correct. It is Bieber. I would hope you pick up on the father, because what's the father's name? I can't remember his full name.
Heinrich
Ignaz.
Franz. I always get the two middles switched up in the order. Ignaz.
Right. Yes. So it is Bieber.
I have to get to know his music. I don't know Carl.
Yeah, I don't know
at all.
Carl Heinrich. Yeah.
He's not as popular. His dad, is more famous and popular.
Definitely more famous. Yeah.
I was trying to find a little more obscure because we've had a lot of violinist composers this month. And now we have the cat who plays the fiddle.
Aww.
Right. So this composer, conductor, keyboard player, violinist, and cellist was one of the many Italian musicians working in the 18th century at the Spanish court. He served as the member of Capilla Real and taught the children of Don Luis and Don Carlos, the future King Louis I and King Carlos III. As a composer, he wrote several operas, cantatas, serenades, suites, and other instrumental music, including a cycle of 12 concertos for violin, strings, and organ with the title Thoughts Adromanicus, I think is how one would say that. So I don't know most of these composers. Is it Facco, Matisse, Perti, or Veracini? but first, some thinking music.
I'm glad you said that, Leanne. So very good.
I mean, Brandy and Sarah, do you know these? They're all violinists, but
two of them for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The other A and C I have not heard of actually. So
yeah.
I feel like I'm just guessing blind. I know Mateus's Book of Airs and Vertini's Academic Sonatas, and that's about the scope of my information to bring to this.
Yeah, the Adronicus thing definitely. I was like, okay. So, because that you said that was 12 concertos with organ and
with violin, strings, and organ.
Violin, strings, and organ.
Mm.
Well, of the two we know, Veracini would be more likely to do something like that.
Did he work in Spain?
I
mean, the clue includes somewhere in Spain.
The Spanish court.
Right. So I mean, I don't know very much about Veracini's life, but I thought he was mostly in Italy. So I'm gonna take a total stab in the dark and guess Perti, just for no great reason.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good point too. The Spanish thing. I think I'm gonna go with C as well. For that reason too.
All right. Thomas, do you have any thoughts?
C is for cat.
And there's a cat on the screen.
Yep.
All right. I stumped all of you. It's Mr. Facco.
Oh, geez. Wow.
I had never heard of him, so I was trying to find somebody new. So
that's cool. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, I should look this person up.
Yeah. Lots of composers to explore after this.
I know. And maybe he likes cats. I don't know. I just liked this picture.
It's a good picture.
Definitely.
All right. And now we have this young lad playing his violin. This composer was probably the earliest notable Italian violinist in London. He was a composer of significant popularity in his time, though he had been utterly forgotten until the later 20th century. He enjoyed great artistic and commercial success with his published music, notably 4 books of airs for violin. Maybe you've heard of those. Knowing that many of his customers were amateurs, he gave precise instructions in his books of airs regarding bowing, tempi, explanations of ornaments, and other directions. These notes have proved valuable resources for scholars reconstructing the performance practices of the time, He is also credited with changing the English taste for violin playing from the French style to a newer Italian one. Was it Corelli, Pieri, Viotti, or Matisse? But first, some thinking music. Any guesses?
D. Definitely D.
Oh, oh, Thomas.
I was actually pretty sure it was D too, just because of a couple of the English thing and then the book of airs. So
Very nice. Have you played these, Brandy, Sarah? Any of these airs?
Yep.
Is this like standard rep for violinists? I don't know.
For Baroque violinists, not for regular violinists.
Well, I'm not talking about regular ones. I'm talking.
Brandy's version of the chaconne is one of my favorites. Actually, I've never heard Sarah play it, but I really love Brandy's chaconne interpretation.
Nice. There's a solo violin. I think it's in the third book, Passaggio Roto, and a little fugue. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. So I stumped you, but you also got some of them right. So let's move on to Thomas's Revenge.
2 out of 3.
And it wasn't so bad because I got 2 out of 3, and the last one I actually knew. So cool, I'm not so angry this time. But Sarah, as my friends know how this game works, usually the first game I do very poorly, and so this is my chance to get revenge. And I like cats, so I bring them in because I want to. And so how the game will work is on the next page you will see a list of 3 composer names, and then we'll hear a sampling of some of their music. And then we're going to take a stab at who the composer is, after which I will reveal the piece, the composer, as well as a picture of the composer and a cat doppelganger, which has something to do either loosely or directly with either the composer or the music. So for our first piece, here are our options for composers, and we're going to listen to a full movement within this particular piece. So here we go. All right.
I think you're playing right.
What did you say? What did you say?
I think this is on their program tonight.
Oh, that's really funny, actually. I should have looked. Well, Sarah, do you have a guess, or do you know who it is?
I know who it is because actually we are playing that tonight, and I have to start that bit. I am playing the second violin part for that, so I'm cueing it. So yeah, it's Beaver. It's from the Vitalia at 10.
Cool. Do we agree?
Yes.
Oh yes, most definitely.
Yeah, I was wondering, Lan, how you do about it. But yeah, Beaver. Hey, actually, since you're an expert on it, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Because I had no idea about this until like yesterday, and I thought it was like the coolest thing I've ever heard.
It's really wild.
Yeah.
Like describing all sorts of battle scenes. So at one point, the continuo instruments, the plucked ones, snap the string so it hits against the fingerboard and makes sound like gunshots. They like make gunshot sounds in the middle. That bit we just heard where everybody kind of plays their own tune at the same time. That's
the part where they're all supposed to be drunk, right? I think that's what I read.
I think so, and just wandering around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're also representing different nationalities too in the tavern or something like that. Like
I know that part.
Yeah. And here is our battle ready cat.
That's amazing.
That's perfect.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Sarah? Didn't mean to interrupt you.
That in the Mars movement, the bass player puts a piece of paper in the strings, so it sounds like a snare drum. It's kind of a cool effect. It's like a rattly noise. Yeah. That picture is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that we got that one. This one might be slightly harder. So this is my second and final piece, and here are the names of our three composers, and we'll listen to the whole piece because it's not super duper long.
Will you buy a fine dog with a hole in his head, with a dildo, with a dildo, dildo, with a dildo, dildo, dildo? Muffs, cuffs, rebutters, and fine sisters thread, with a dildo, with a dildo, dildo, with a dildo, dildo. I stand not on points, pins, periwigs, combs, glasses, gloves, garters, girdles, vasques for the brisk lasses. But I have other dainty, dainty tricks, slick stones and floating sticks, with a dildo, 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 dildo. And for the need, my pretty, pretty, pretty pods, amber, civet, and musk cocks, with a dildo, with a dildo, with a dildo, with a dildo, dildo.
All right. Anybody have a guess?
I'm not sure because I know that's kind of English. Comic song. It could be any of them, but I don't know. I'm gonna guess Morley for not any great reason.
Excellent. GRE technique. I love it. All right. Brandy.
Well, I'm gonna say not A for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be surprised.
Oh, really?
And that's Daniel, not Henry.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
I was thinking this is too early for Daniel Purcell.
I have a question about the text.
Yes.
Could you tell me what that word is that starts with a D?
Dildo.
Okay, I thought so, but I was just making sure.
Yep. Yep.
Because I couldn't quite tell in the, my headphones.
Yeah. He cheated at the end, though. He cheated at the end because technically at the end it's supposed to be and like repeated like over and over again. He just did it in his runs, but yes, the word is dildo, and I had to do research to find out. I was like, did this mean something different at the time? And there was like one sort of meaning, but I'm pretty sure that it's still what you think.
Okay, I was just making sure I was hearing the right thing.
Yep.
I really have no idea.
I think I'm gonna go with C, just because for the song collections, I don't know. You were saying you might be surprised, but I feel like that was a decoy comment. So I'm gonna go with C.
Well, Daniel Purcell actually writes really naughty and also very funny music if you look at his songs. But it was, in fact, C. Thomas Morley. Will you buy a fine dog? Also called With a Dildo. by Alfred Deller. And I was just aware of this one, I think, earlier this week, too. So I was like, I have to include this one tonight. So, in my cat doppelganger, I decided to go more with a fine dog instead of like something else. We need to find a way to include this in a future program. Just throwing that out there, Brandy.
Yes.
Is that the same song collection? Even the same song about some.
Actually, I don't know which song collection it's in. I only know of the song's existence, so I have to look it up. I imagine it's probably.
Sorry, there's one about the Queen's lapdog. They're really not talking about a lapdog at all. They're talking about the guy in the court, but it's really thinly veiled insult and double entendre talking about the Queen's lapdog as a dog, but really they're talking about a man. I wonder if it's the same.
Oh.
Same.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'll find the title, but in the same vein. For sure.
Yeah, no, that's kind of an interesting little twist. That'd be kind of fun. Okay, cool. Definitely look into that one. So maybe we'll have to do the whole thing, Brandy. Awesome. All right. Well, we survived. So good job, everybody. And now on to our final game, Two Truths and a Lie with Brandy.
All right. And so with this game, I'm going to read 3 short stories, okay, about different violin composers. And it's your job to tell us which one is the lie. So the first batch of 3, here we are. It's about our beloved Arcangelo Corelli. So Arcangelo Corelli got his name from his father, who also was named Arcangelo. He unfortunately never got to meet his father. Second story, although Corelli's family was known to be prosperous and wealthy, they falsely claimed that they were nobility. Number 3, Corelli was a fixture in Rome's music scene, so much so that he directed the Saturday concerts at the Ottoboni Palace. Which one is the lie? And now for a little thinking music.
And Sarah, just so you know, she'll find like one small thing to change.
Like a word.
Okay, that's why I'm gonna guess 3 because I'm gonna guess it wasn't Saturday concerts.
All right,
But
excellent.
really, no great reason for that.
Thomas, Leanne, what do you guys think?
I don't really know, so I'm gonna go with 2 because BBE, BBB. I don't really know, so I'm just guessing.
do we know Arcangelo? Do we know Corelli's father's name? I'm just curious. Do we?
I don't remember.
Well, I'll go with 1 since nobody picked it, so somebody will get it right. Let's see who gets it.
All right. Yeah, well, and in fact, our special guest got it right for the exact reason that you said. They are concerts on Monday, not on Saturday. So,
Excellent.
nice, Sarah. Very, very good. All right.
Good job,
let's
Sarah.
go to the next batch here, which is about Pietro Locatelli. So, Locatelli was not only a virtuoso violinist, he also ran his own business of selling strings out of his home. Locatelli was so vain that he was known for wearing diamond-studded clothes and accessorizing his violins with diamonds on the fingerboard. And then the third one, when Locatelli passed, he left a large collection of works, his whatever that Lachnas or Nachlas, whatever that's called, including compositions by Corelli. So which one is the lie? And now for a little thinking music.
Sarah, you're first.
I was going to ask a technical question.
Yeah.
So, do diamonds change the sound?
Hmm.
If one were to add, so on flutes they do. Like people add flutes. I don't. Does it do something to the violin sound?
I would imagine so.
I would imagine so too. I mean, sometimes people have mutes with fake diamonds on them, I imagine. But that's purely aesthetic. And sometimes on modern violins, people put a diamond or a jewel on the E fine tuner, but I've never heard of them on the fingerboard.
Yeah, because flute players, we do it for the weight. Well, modern flutes, not back in the day, but because the weight affects the sound. I just wondered.
So you would put diamonds on purpose on your flute for the sound? To like
people do, yeah. They're like today. They spend millions of, well, maybe not millions, thousands of dollars to put diamonds or whatever on their head joint.
Really?
And that's not aesthetic. That there's a purpose for it.
I mean, part of it can be aesthetic, probably, but it has to do with the weight changes the sound.
You know, I want to go for 2. I think I'm wondering about that, but part of it too is I'm just wondering what was the prevalence of diamonds in the area at the time. Not necessarily so the expense. I'm sure that was part of it too, but I'm just wondering about the prevalence of enough diamonds to do all of this. So I'm going with 2.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards 2 as well.
Well, I was thinking that there's still strings made by him, but then I'm thinking of a different Italian-sounding name with a T. I think it's Tonarelli strings. So what's the? I can picture the label. I can't remember the name on it. It's like 2 hands holding a string on a beige background. Whatever that string company is, makes me think that 1 is plausible. So I'm also gonna guess 2 because I can't imagine putting diamonds on your fingerboard.
Nice. Excellent. You guys all got it right. So number 2 was the one. So as far as I could tell, couldn't find anything about actually accessorizing the violins. He did wear diamond-studded clothing, though, and he was a very vain person. So, yeah, there you go. So you guys, right? Woo. All right, last one, last batch there. This is about Veracini, and there's a little bit of Tartini in there as well. So Francesco Maria Veracini has an asteroid named after him. That's the first one. Legend has it that Tartini was so impressed and intimidated by Veracini's skills that he went to another town to study the bow in more tranquility, which, as legend had it, led to the art of the bow. And then the third one, in Dresden, Veracini was involved in a quarrel that resulted in him jumping out of a window and breaking his foot in 2 places. Another violinist in the area attempted to murder him out of jealousy. Which one is the lie? And now for a little thinking music. Any guesses?
I'm gonna guess 1 because it seems plausible to me that Tartini went somewhere else to work on his art of bowing. And then I do remember a story about a violinist jumping out a window and breaking his foot. I can't remember if it was Veracini or somebody else, so that might bring me down, but I'm still gonna go for 1.
Leanne, Thomas?
I'm also leaning towards 1. I feel like naming asteroids and stars was not necessarily common like it is now back in the day. So maybe that's my only reasoning for that.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah,
Your mom is
it's mostly
3 for drama. That's what your mom says.
Yeah. But mostly like I don't the one I feel to be plausible because like all kinds of people get named comments after them, but I'm like there has to be a really nerdy like astronomer or somebody buying the name who really likes Veracini to do that. It's tough, but not to delay any further. I know you all both picked 1 that does seem likely, but just to be difficult, I'm going to go with number 3.
Right. Well, in fact, both you and your mom are right. It's number 3, not just for the drama. But so he was involved. So the lie part of it is the other violinist who attempted to murder him. So I don't know of any instance where that actually occurred, but that he jumped out of a window is a pretty funny story. Talked about a lot, but yeah, the asteroid. I don't. I'll have to read up a little bit more who actually named him, but I mean, it probably was some nerdy astronomer that was like, oh, this guy is a pretty cool composer. Or maybe the astronomer played Baroque violin or something and has a collection. I don't know. If this astronomer happens to be watching, you can always send an email to us at BBE at bbexperience.org and let us know who you are. All right, cool. Now we are now you've passed the trivia, Sarah. Good job. We will still give you your doctorate. No, I'm just kidding. But we're here at the chit chat part of the show, and we'd love to hear about all that you've got going on, including the most imminent thing, which is tonight.
Yeah. Indie Baroque is playing at the History Center on music from the 30 Years War. So great 6-7 part sonatas, some Schmelzer, Mufat, Beaver, Bertelli. It's really a fun program. Marty Perry, who I think was on last week, right?
Yep, she was on last week. Shout out to Marty.
Yeah, she crafted the program, and she's doing readings from the time, various people's journals in between. So yeah, it should be cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Very, very cool. And how's it been? You know, is this your first time, or you've been playing with people in person, like more recently too? So this isn't like the first concert back.
This is probably the biggest scale historical program since everything. There are 6 violins, 2 violas, gamba, cello, violone, harpsichord, theorbo. So
nice.
It's nice. It's nice to make big sounds together. It's been a while for that. So
that's cool. That's very, very cool. Awesome. Well, yeah. What else? So what else is going on with you as far as like what's coming up and you know?
Next weekend I go to Texas. Our string quartet with the symphony. We have our spring concert. So we're doing Amy Beach Quartet in One Movement, which has a bunch of Inuit songs in it, which is really, really stunning. It's like verge of tonality, very Wagnerian. And then a piece by Jessie Montgomery, who's a young Black composer. I think she was just named composer of residence with Chicago. She's awesome. And it's called Breakaway. And so we actually break away from the score. Like they're huge parts that are structured improvisation.
Cool.
Which is
nice.
Kind of stressful because it's a totally different style of improvisation. Like we're just given some jazz chords and free reign. So that's been kind of fun to discover as a quartet. And then Shostakovich Fourth Quartet, just like a really kind of strange. It seems joyful, but it's there's an undercurrent of something really upsetting, which kind of feels very fitting right now. And then we have kind of a joyful surprise at the end, which isn't listed on the program, but it's going to be a really fun concert. So yeah, really different things this weekend next. But
nice.
And do you know what? I'm kind of curious. What's the response for doing something like that in Texas? Like, do you find that there's a lot of people who are really anxious to come? Like, have you seen like a difference in like the way either? I don't know if you're selling tickets or how that's kind of working. Like, what's been sort of like the response from the community to come see something like this, or any thoughts on that?
It's been pretty good. We gave a concert in November, and we moved to a larger space. So we could be much more distanced than the usual space. And then we always play standing, but that helped in that space. And masks were required. We cut the program maybe a little shorter than usual, so no intermission. The doors opened sooner, so people could have longer to get to their seats. Seats were distanced. Like everything we can to make it as little contact and still be able to put on a concert safely. And then we were farther away from the audience than usual, and then very far away from each other. But it was good. It was a very enthusiastic audience. I didn't like that we couldn't really greet them afterwards. There's not really a great way to do that we were comfortable with. So hopefully now that it's spring, we can all like say hello outside afterwards or something. But yeah, people came. It was great. Nice to hear live applause. That was one of the earliest things I did with actual humans in the same room. That was really nice. We have a pretty dedicated group of people that come to those concerts. So yeah, I'm excited. And we're trying it on a new time. Usually it's Sunday afternoons. We're trying a Friday night. So we'll see how that goes. But it seems like people are really excited about live music in a safe way. Like the History Center tonight with Indie Baroque. I think you have to register ahead of time, and then the pod seating is really spaced out, but we're able to have an audience, mask, distance, no intermission, all those kind of precautions. But
I guess there's not a lot of competition on Friday nights right now, so it's probably okay.
Yeah, and Texas opened up a little sooner than other places, so I think that might have had an impact. Although I feel like the people that come to our concerts, maybe it wouldn't have made that much of a difference because I'm not sure. Hard to say without running a parallel universe with the exact same scenario, changing one thing. But I think spaced out, masked audience, we're just happy to be able to do this. So
yeah, definitely. What do you prefer? Because you talked about being further away from the audience. Like, does that part of it? Because obviously that would affect, how you can communicate during the show, right? Like, yeah. So talk about that a little bit. Like, what have been some of the like a pro, obviously, because it's safety and all of that. But what's been some of the challenges there?
Speaking to the audience is kind of hard. I think in the past we've done that just from our spot without a mic, and that's kind of nice. It feels like we're sharing something more intimate. But masked and kind of far away, you really have to have a mic so people can actually tell what you're saying. So, that's kind of not quite as nice. I think it feels less intimate, but in a scenario where we haven't had live music very much at all, I think people don't mind. If this were kind of a normal year and that was the setup, I think it would feel really odd. But just to be able to do something, I think people are just really excited to be in the same space, so they don't mind. But it's been interesting in rehearsal to not see people's faces. I hadn't realized just how much we communicate facially. Like, you get a fair amount from the eyes, but it's not the same. So how do you read gesture instead? And it feels like gestures have to be a lot bigger, physical gestures and facial gestures to convey anything, which maybe is a good lesson for going forward anyway. But it feels a little bit like you have to pantomime, like really over exaggerate to make anything come across. Yeah, I'm already angry now, but all you can see, is this much. It's kind of weird. This whole thing is very weird, but we're gonna come out of it stronger communicators and nothing else. So,
and Sarah, I'm excited. I don't want to move on if you're not ready, but I'm actually really anxious to hear you talk about your doctoral experience, because that's kind of coming to a close, right? Like, that's a big personal accomplishment. You just finished your orals, right?
I did. It kind of was everything all at once after years of sitting on it. I was doing other things. It wasn't like I was doing nothing, but my first draft is in revisions. I passed my major fields about 2.5 weeks ago. I passed my oral on Wednesday. Normally you go into the office and there's like a special testing room and a sit-stand desk, and you choose Mac or PC, and it's really, you check your phone into a locker, and it's very formal thing. And because of everything, no, I did it from my apartment, and so you have to be alone in your space if that's feasible safety-wise, and then you take a picture of your station, and then you put every device in airplane mode except you're going to take the exam on. You get the email within 2 minutes of the start time of your exam, and then you put your device in airplane mode. You take the exam, you email it back. You have a 10-minute window to email it back, and then they confirm that they received it on time, and then they turned it in to check for plagiarism. And so it's a really complicated process. And then for the oral, it was on Zoom, of course, which is kind of weird, but better than not being able to do it, I guess. So we had kind of a funny moment where Stanley Ritchie wanted to ask me something about a score, and so he's holding it up to the camera lens, like, see this bar where my thumb is? Tell me about this bar. Oh, this is really stressful, but I survived. I passed. And then my lecture recital will also have to be on Zoom, so the recital will happen first, which is odd, but that has to be one complete unedited take of the whole recital, and you have to show a visible timestamp in the whole recording to prove that it was done in that way. Then you submit it to the committee. They have 8 days to review it, and then you give your lecture over Zoom. So it's very odd and upside down, but at least we can do it. So that'll be in June for me. But
yay!
Yay! And then it will be officially done July 16th, assuming everything goes well and I pass and all that. I defend successfully, but yeah. Weird time to finish, but
yeah.
And I feel like this sounds way more stressful than if you did it in person too. Like especially those things like take a picture of your workstation and send it to print. Like, oh God. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Did
Well,
you?
and I had
Yeah.
a momentary panic because I've had an iPad as my primary, like that's what I do things on. I have an iPad. I don't have a laptop, and so I was converting things back and forth to Pages to take the exam, and then you have to submit it in a Word doc, and it's this like they give you the questions, and then it's a box that you type in. And I had a momentary absolute freak out because the box wouldn't expand to the next page. It just kept cutting my text off, and so I figured out how to put the whole thing in Pages and paste my text in, and then convert it to Word. But I mean, that's the
Oh
last
my
thing you
Lord.
want in the middle of that scenario. Like I have 10 minutes to get this in for the exam block, and I'm dealing with formatting. And like at one point I had to annotate a score. And so, I take the iPad off the keyboard and turn it and open it in Fourscore and mark it up with my pencil and convert an annotated PDF and mail that. And it's like, oh my gosh. Thank heavens I'm doing a lot of this kind of tech things all the time anyway, because it's so stressful. I don't know how you do this if you're not, I'm not very tech savvy, but I can figure out how to do that. And even so, it was so stressful. So, I'm grateful that we can do it, obviously, but yeah, I'd so much rather just be in the same room for the exam, type the thing on the school computer for the written part. Lecture recital, imagine you lecture and then you play the music as it should be. But this way, they hear the music first and then the lecture without any actual sound in that moment. So it's a very weird.
Very strange.
Yeah,
That is
Very weird.
So
Oh my gosh. And then what happens like if you do have a technical glitch or whatever, like do you have to go through a whole process to be like to prove that you're, like just saying like what if your computer shuts down, or like if you weren't able to do the formatting or something weird happened, like what would you, is there like a policy in place, I guess, for that to prove that that actually happened?
yeah, they asked me you have to turn on like auto save, and I imagine I don't actually know, but I imagine there's a way for them to check. Like auto save had to be turned on for every 5 minutes.
Wow.
And so maybe there's
Okay.
a scenario in which if they needed to make sure you were telling the truth, you could go check the progress on auto save, like see the 5 minute mark every time or something. And I think that's why the recital has to be first, is because then you've already ironed out any glitches with that. And if something happens on Zoom for the lecture part, that's pretty easy to rejoin the meeting or reschedule, worst case scenario. But the recital, if the sound cut out halfway through on Zoom or something, they'd have no way of telling you. So I think that's why they've set it up this way. I'm sure they spent hours and hours figuring out how to make it work. But
Wow.
yeah, it's very weird.
That is
Very
crazy.
weird. But close.
But it's almost over.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So you can add a new violinist to your trivia lists if you need more violin trivia. The guy I'm writing about, Santiago Biloni,
Bioni.
incredible,
Yep.
virtuoso violinist, working in Mexico. So,
Yep.
add him to your.
Or we could just have you back and you could tell us all about it. About him.
Or that, sure.
Yeah, we should have you back. Drew Davies, he's the musicologist that actually discovered a lot of his works down there. Has done some really beautiful additions, actually, that have, even there's a latest one that just came out. But yeah, and Bioni is like very Corelli style, and like just it has some beautiful like violin parts that feel like Corelli sonatas, and then the singer is joining in too, and so
actually, Drew's one really huge silver lining right now is you can check out reference materials for the library, and have them in your house. So things that normally are never allowed to leave, I have it for a week. So I actually have Drew's book. I just picked it up this morning. I have Drew's complete published works of Santiago.
That's awesome.
Big, sitting on my dining room table. So that's amazing.
That's so cool. Yeah, just like tiny skin it off. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that online. That's so cool. Yeah, it's such a beautiful music. But yeah, that's really cool to hear about your experience too, because I think like, when we hear about the pandemic and we think, oh yeah, the performances and the, of course all these other things have changed, but then course, if you're finishing a degree like a doctorate, and you've been actively performing, of course, that part of your life has been affected. But then this whole other part of your life, is, that's really crazy. The logistics that both of you, and then of course Thomas has also just gone through a whole bunch of logistics as well, like finishing up his degree. So
I was
anyway.
gonna actually ask you, so there for me, like and not that I wanted like my career to come crashing down like it did, but like the time away from the performing made it more easy to handle all the work. And I'm wondering if you felt that way too in any way, like, because it meant that I wasn't having to learn music or do these gigs, so I just had my project and everything that I had to work on. Did you find that to be the case as well?
Yeah, most definitely, especially in the research stage. It's kind of confluence of having the time, and then Elizabeth Wright and Stanley Ritchie are both on committee, and they both retire this year after 39 years of teaching. So it was kind of those two things combined, like it has to be now or it has to be now. So just really jump starting on things, and the research, having the time to just read, and especially a lot of my research was in Spanish, which reading colonial Spanish, I am very slow. So just wading through that, I needed the time. Yeah, it was really extremely helpful for that. So Thomas, are you done too?
Almost. So I'm done. The only thing that I have to do is I submitted my project, so it's being reviewed by the grad school for any revisions that need to get done. But I had it pre-screened and fixed, I think, most everything, if not everything. And the only other thing I have to do is I have to submit all of my work to the School of Music, but that can kind of be done on not an extended timeline, but there's not like a hard set time. So we have our School of Music graduation next Wednesday, and then we have conferral the following Saturday. So in a week and a day, I'm officially done.
That's amazing.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, cool. Let's where can people find out about the concert tonight?
I think it's indiebaroque.org. I might be wrong about that. Maybe just Google Indie Baroque, or Leanne is on it, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is Indie Baroque.
Watchful Hearts is a Facebook event. You can find it that way.
And people can stream it too, not just, you don't have to be in person. They have a streaming option as well, from what I remember.
.org. Thanks, Leanne.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we play the concert live tonight, and then tomorrow we record for the YouTube streaming at University of Indianapolis. So.
Cool. That's awesome.
And what about your Texas stuff? Where can they find information about that?
That is MOSC.org. So Midland Odessa Symphony and Chorale is what that stands for. And it's what are we called? Reimagined. PBSQ. Permian Basin String Quartet Reimagined. That's only possible if you are in the Midland Odessa area and you want to come in person. There's no digital option yet. But thanks, Thomas. Yeah, that's our program will be Friday, May 7th at 7:30 in Texas.
Right.
But can people see YouTube videos of any of the previous stuff that y'all have done, maybe being directed from there, or is there any digital content that they can watch at some point?
If they follow us on Instagram, they can see minute snippets just about every week of either things we're doing or have done or will do. That's it so far, but we're working on that. So Instagram is probably the best way to see up-to-date things. Otherwise, in person.
Wow, that's very Gen Z of you. Good job, Sarah.
Totally.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's probably about it for our show. We wrapped up a little bit early, but that was cool to get to hear everything you're doing, Sarah. It's good to see you too. I haven't seen you since actually our BBE gig.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah.
So look up Beaver's dad's music. Beaver's son's music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Carl.
And Mr.
Carl.
Facco.
Yes.
And Paco. Yeah. That was definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much to my great friends, everybody in the room. Thanks to everybody who watched at home, either now or in the future. The BBE is live almost every Friday with really cool guests like Sarah. I think we're back next Friday. Am I correct in saying that? We're doing something next Friday, right? Okay, perfect, cool. Do we have anything on the show?
Patrick O'Malley, he'll be joining us.
Oh, good. Patrick, also a friend.
May is Wind Month, so it'll be all wind players for the month of May. So.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yes.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching and stay safe. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next week.
Nottingham Mail, boys, Nottingham Mail. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham Mail. Nottingham Mail, boys, Nottingham Mail. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham Mail.